Before we dive into the bone-chilling tale, drop a comment below and let me know, what city and country are you watching this from? Because tonight, the story I'm about to tell you isn't just a story, it's a warning. And who knows, the shadows lurking in your city might just be listening too. Ready? Let's begin. A family's nightmare. The entity that followed them home. The rain pattered against the car windows as the Thompson family drove home from their weekend trip to the countryside. It had been a relaxing getaway, a chance to escape the noise of the city and breathe in the fresh air of the rolling hills. But as they pulled into their driveway that night, something felt off. Their home was exactly as they left it, yet an unsettling chill hung in the air. The lights flickered as they stepped inside, and a strange, musty scent filled their noses. They chalked it up to being tired from the long drive, but the feeling of unease only grew stronger. That night, their youngest son, Ethan, woke up crying. He sat up in bed, trembling, his small voice barely above a whisper. "There's someone in my room." His parents rushed to him, checking every corner, but found nothing. Still, the boy refused to sleep alone. His father sighed, attributing it to a nightmare, and let Ethan sleep between him and his wife. But as they lay in bed, the air turned thick, suffocating. The sound of slow, deliberate footsteps echoed in the hallway outside their door. Heart pounding, Mr. Thompson got up, checking every room in the house. Nothing. No windows open. No doors unlocked. But as he turned to go back to bed, a shadow moved in the corner of his vision. His breath caught in his throat. He looked again. The hallway was empty. The following days were worse. Objects moved on their own. The family dog refused to enter certain rooms. Whispers filled the house at night, unintelligible yet unmistakably real. The children became withdrawn, their eyes dull, their laughter fading. Mrs. Thompson began waking up with deep scratches on her arms, as if something had been clawing at her in her sleep. Desperate, they called a priest to bless the house. He arrived with a solemn expression, stepping inside cautiously. As he began his prayers, a sudden gust of wind blew through the living room, knocking over picture frames and sending books tumbling from the shelves. The air turned ice cold, and a guttural growl filled the space around them. This thing followed you here," the priest whispered, his face pale. "It was waiting. It latched on to you." Terror gripped them. They hadn't brought home just memories from their trip. They had brought something else. Something dark. The priest continued his prayers, urging them to join in. The walls trembled, the lights burst, and a blood-curdling scream ripped through the house. And then silence. The air lightened. The house felt normal again. But deep down, the Thompsons knew the truth. It wasn't gone. It was just waiting. And the nightmare was far from over. The next night, Ethan screamed again, but this time, he wasn't in his bed. His parents found him standing in the hallway, staring at the wall, his body trembling violently. When they touched his shoulder, he turned around slowly, his eyes unfocused. "It's inside me," he whispered. Panic seized Mrs. Thompson as she pulled Ethan into her arms. They rushed him to the hospital, but doctors found nothing wrong. Yet the child was different, his gaze hollow, his laughter absent. Shadows flickered in his room at night, and the whispering returned louder, more insistent. Objects flew across rooms. Doors slammed shut on their own, and a suffocating darkness settled over the house. Mr. Thompson saw a figure lurking in the mirror, one that didn't belong to him. Mrs. Thompson felt cold fingers brush against her skin when she was alone. The entity had not only followed them, it had taken root within their son. Determined to free Ethan, they sought help from an occult expert. The woman arrived with ancient relics, chanting prayers in a language neither of them understood. Ethan screamed, his body convulsing as unseen hands seemed to grip him. The lights flickered wildly, the house shaking with an unnatural force. "It's feeding off your fear," the woman warned. "You mustn't give in." But it was too late. The entity wasn't just attached to them. It was growing stronger, merging with their child. They fought to pull him back, chanting along with the woman, tears streaming down their faces. The room darkened, a heavy force pressing upon them. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the terror stopped. Ethan collapsed unconscious. The house fell silent. The shadows receded. The whispering ceased. They left the house the next day, abandoning it without looking back. But as they drove away, Ethan turned his head, staring at the house with an unsettling smile. "It's coming with us," he murmured. "Have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain? Tell us in the comments below. And if you want to hear more terrifying stories, make sure to stick around. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows.